There you go. You guys can hear me okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, let's get started because I think we got a good number of people in here. Let's see what the chat's saying. Yeah, I know there's a watermark, Walter. Don't worry, it's going to be recorded. It won't have a watermark, the recording, obviously. So let me just see.
Yeah, because I saw a setup on EU, but it's out of my time frame that I'm trading.
Okay.
So I was wondering if you guys took it.
Okay, we can take a look at that. Okay, a lot of people want to do like 1 minute entries and stuff too. So you know what? What I can do is I will set up a. Maybe we'll do some 1 minute on here, right? A little bit. We'll do a mix of stuff. But yeah, let's start off by like reviewing the week. What do you want to look at specifically? How do I pronounce your name? Is it Ku?
Yeah. Just today price action.
Just today's price action? Oh, okay. Yeah, today's price action was weird, to be honest with you. I actually didn't take anything. I was looking for something to take, but
me neither. I missed a long.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
trade
there was a long,
I trade
yeah.
the crap out of
There was a
it.
long that I missed only.
so let's start with that then. Let me just. I'll do my recaps thing here. We'll start with a fresh chart. All right, so let's start with daily. Okay. What do you guys think? Bullish, bearish? It's pretty bearish, right?
Yeah,
It's
bearish.
definitely bullish. Bullish.
Yeah,
huh?
bearish.
It's bullish.
Daily? The daily's bearish.
Bearish.
I hope you're kidding. So I won't even really mark it up, but I mean, look, we had a daily, zone that price is now ventured into, right? This is all obviously in hindsight. That's fine. We'll do a little like recap type thing. Well, look, what are we reacting off of here? There's this wick that I kept marking out all week, right? That's also a refined 4-hour. So let's dig into that a little bit, and then we'll like break down the structure and we'll figure out why is price reacting off of this, right? We've had a huge sell-off over the past, like, I don't even know how long now. A couple weeks, right? Maybe even longer. Here's our little 4-hour refined zone, right? You could argue, okay, this has been like tapped into, but it wasn't really fully mitigated yet, right? And then you also have this wick here, right? That swept liquidity here, right? So there's our sweep. If we really want to like get specific about it, we had also this level here of supply, right? Which is a 4-hour. And this is a 4-hour wick. Right? You guys following so far?
Yep.
Price came, reacted a couple times. Eventually we swept and this like level of supply failed, right? And this is liquidity that was generated by those reactions, right? So see, price comes, develops our level of supply. Price pushes down, reacts, sweeps, and then you get a failure, right? So this level here, like this wick, is like a pretty important one. What else does it do? Right? If we want to again be specific about it and kind of build our story, right? This is just me, like how I like look at it regardless, right? If I see this, I know that okay, price is chaining off something like this, then like okay, it's probably a good level. Would I trade directly off of it? No, but I would totally play continuations, right? So let's see. So let me drag this all the way over. Whoops. And we'll do some back testing at the end. I'll try to make time for you guys. But I have to go exactly at, what is it, 2:30. So, gives us enough time, I hope. Yeah, I mean, we have like 90 minutes. All right, so see how we tapped into this refined 4-hour now, right? We got a 4-hour chalk a little bit later, right? This would have been our chalk here. So I'll mark it so we know. So for me personally, because we were so bearish, right? I wasn't looking for any shorts until this high went, right? Even like on the 15-minute. It's just I don't want to trade against like that much momentum. I don't think it's like a wise thing to do. I don't need to do it, right? I'd rather play continuations all day, right? So for me, and I know like obviously like there was a huge push to the upside. Why do you guys think this happened? For me, it's a couple things. I think like the main thing is obviously we tapped into this zone, right? Second thing is price exhaustion, right? Price can't continue on forever. It can go quite a bit, but like at some point for price to be healthy, like it has to pull back, right? So that's kind of what we're seeing here, right? So let's break down structure really quick, and I'll tell you guys how I'm looking at this. We'll just start from up here for 4-hour structure really quickly. So we got 4-hour, our high, right? Obviously, we took this low out, right? Would I consider this a pullback? Sure, right? It's enough that it like, it's a few candles, and those candles are higher than the last, right? And when we're in like a bearish scenario like this, right? This is obviously a pullback, right? This to me is not, right? But this I would consider enough of a pullback, right?
Yeah, for
Kinda like
me,
that,
4
right?
hours, it's now bullish.
Yeah, so now 4 hour is bullish, yeah. So our chalk was also our 4 hour breakage structure up, right?
Exactly.
I think for some of you, you may go as far as saying this is all just one swing leg. I think that's okay too, right? Depends on how you see it and how you mark it up. So I think either of those are valid. Either it's a chalk to you or it's a swing structure breakup, right? Because even this, right? Like it's a little hard to argue that it's like it's a pullback because we swept whatever was in here, right? But it's only a few candles, right? When we compare it to this type of pullback. So I don't know. For me though, I'm okay with being a little bit tight on that one. So let's look at 15 minute now, right? Miguel, how did you have it marked out? Did you have it marked out as a
Like you have.
Yeah, like I have it. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Okay,
I have that with as a structure.
Okay,
That you
cool.
marked as chalk for me structure because it was a pullback of 49 pips.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, for me, I mean, I don't ever use pips, right? Like I said, but there you go, right?
It's just a guideline. I use
Yeah.
it just as a guideline.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as long as it sweeps something, right? For me, like that's kind of like the main requirement, and that it's like at least like 3-4 candles, right? And so it is that, so that's fine. 15 minute. Let's see. We'll start from. I guess we can start from over here, right? Let's actually try to capture the trend change here, so we understand where like our 15 minute shifted essentially, right? So I'll start even from like right here, right? So say this is my 15 minute high. Do you guys want to mark this out with me? Get a little bit of practice in. I want to see how you guys do. You can annotate, by the way. Where do you think my lower high is now that I've marked out this trading range? Okay, good. What else? Then we break here. Where's my next swing high on the 15? Oh, wouldn't it be this one? Yeah. Well, for me, it would be this one. You could maybe say this, right? But to me, it's this. Look. So you have price going like this, right? This is just, internal, right? And this is my new trading range here, right? Okay, good. And then from here to here, are you guys considering this a break?
Yeah.
Yes or no? Yeah?
Yeah, for me that'd be a break.
Yeah, this one would be a break for me too. So you remember the rule that I always tell you guys? As long as it closes enough below, right? Yeah, it could be a sweep, but like it closed like 2 candles
below.
close below it, right? And like with enough like buffer. So that's a break to me, right? This is our next trading range. Now here's the question, is this one a break? This wick?
Yeah.
No, right? Okay, good. So we're still trapped within this range, right? This is all just a complex pullback to me.
Exactly.
And then technically, we break up higher, right? So this one's a little weird because, again, like what's happening? We're actually tapping into what would technically be a 15-minute counter trend order block, right? That's fine as long as we understand like this could still work, right? You wait for a chalk, whatever, if you really want to play it. I mean, this was super rangy price action, right? And I just want to address Jake's question again. Jake, I don't know if you're here, but because we didn't record the last call properly, he was asking, why I'll take stuff that's counter trend. This is a good example of that, right? The reason I would look to take stuff, even without a 15-minute chalk, why would I look to take this, right? Well, 4-hour swing structure is bearish, right? Number one. Number two, if we start chaining, right, and I see like there's some sort of push here, I don't even think there's really, actually there is a chalk here technically on the 15-minute. It's just very subtle, right? But even if this wasn't here, and we were getting like a nice chain sort of developing, there's certain areas where I would look to short without that chalk, right? So look, price comes, taps into this, right? We get our chalk here, right? So we take the high, take the low, and look, you can just play this, right? There's an entry there, right? I'm pretty sure. I can't remember. But obviously there's also this too, right? You could have shorted in New York and played that, right? So technically this is pro trend. If you want to play counter, technically like counter trend, right? You also could have played longs or whatever, right? There's a few opportunities there. So it's whether you want to play the pullback or like the overall, pro trend move and try to like catch a bit of a swing move too, right? But when you have corrective price action like this, like for me personally, and I know for Aaron too, because we were kind of talking about this yesterday, I like to just get out intraday. Like I don't want to have the stress of holding something overnight when I don't feel like super confident, right, about it. Because even this, the way that price was really consolidating after it did tap into like the top of this daily, I didn't know if price was going to reverse from here. You can't know, right? But anyways, let's continue with the structure here. So, okay, then we break up, right? I would then say that this is my new trading range here, right? But again, we know that we're tapping into this, so even though my expectational like swing structure is, on the 50-minute, I'm expecting like this high to go technically. I'm really not, because we're chaining, right? And then overall we're bearish on the daily and 4 hour, right? So again, it's kind of conflicting, but that's like how I kind of see it, right? I'm not necessarily, just expecting like a trend to now continue just because we're pulling back, right? It doesn't really work that way. Okay, let's see, where's the next one? Let me clear your guys' drawings really quickly here, so we clear the monitor. Okay. So from here to here, right? So we're bullish. Again, based on just 15-minute swing structure, we expecting this high to go. It doesn't, right? We chain. We end up breaking this low. Where's my next swing high? What gets defined by this break? Okay, good. Perfect. That's exactly right. Okay, now we're getting closer to recent price action. We can get our trend change, right? So for this, I wouldn't really consider this. I mean, you could consider this a pullback. I don't know. It's a tough one. I think it's fair though. I think, Miguel, you agree this is a pullback, right? I have quite a few candles there. What do you think?
For me, I'll just call that a shallow pullback.
It's a pretty shallow one, but we could consider it swing structure, right? It's the same logic that I use for the 4 hour. Or we say it's a whole leg, right? But then we're really waiting, and this is really more like, I guess, true swing structure, if anything. This I wouldn't consider a pullback chain. It's 2 candles, right? But yeah, you know what? For this, I'm gonna, like, sometimes I like being tight about it. Like, it's fine, right? We're kind of in rangy price action. I want to be able to adapt to if like the trend changes a little faster, right? So for me, I'm gonna say that was my swing structure. And then look, we took this high out, right? We closed above, and then we can kind of really just go back and say, okay, one of these levels here is our swing low, right? And that's our swing high, right? So that's our new swing structure there. And I'll draw it out for you guys again so it makes sense. So price kind of goes like this, right? And now we're within this trading range, right? We broke this high. So we're expecting this high to go. It does, right? Based on the 15-minute. And now because we've tapped into this 4 hour wick and stuff, right? This all happens, like the actual break happens in and around Asia, it looks like. Or like Frankfurt, right? Price shoots up. Would I be looking to long here immediately? No, not right away. But remember what I said, when we get our 4 hour chalk up here, then you can kind of start looking for longs. For me personally, I'm going to tell you guys what I was looking at. And the reason I didn't enter a trade is because I wanted a deeper pullback. Right? And I think you guys agree with that. What do you think? Did you guys take anything today or no?
No.
Did anybody enter longs?
I did on, I short GU and then took a hedge buy on GU.
Okay,
But,
nice.
Yeah.
On GU, yeah. I
Yeah.
looked at GU. We can probably glance at it if you want, but
Mhm. And
Yes.
EU wasn't bad for a short from what I can see, but it would just be a quick in and out,
for a short or for a long?
Yeah, up here.
Oh, up here? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's
I
where
mean,
I saw it.
For me, I personally I see like what you're talking about. We'll take a look at it too, right? Maybe as a hedge,
Yeah.
if anything. Because yeah, I mean, you came
Yeah.
into like a swing point. This is a pretty strong zone, right? A lot happened after this, and like, look, you have a ton of imbalance here, right? There's a big impulsive move down, so that's your like V-shaped recovery technically. So we'll mark that out too. Kind of take a look at it. But here, let's finish our structure, and then we can kind of dive deeper into like POIs and stuff, right? So obviously that breaks, that defines this low for me, right? Then price really just kind of rockets from here, right? Here, I don't even want to call this a pullback because, again, like, kind of just does this. It doesn't do this, right? So I think we can call it a pullback anyways. But if I want to stick true to my rules, right, like a 2-candle pullback is not really enough for me, right? But in theory, right, again, like, what's the logic behind it? Wait, what's not audible? Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody was saying
Yeah.
not audible. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, in theory, right? Would I look to try and play like a zone like this off of a 1-minute chalk? No, not necessarily. I'd probably wait for a 15-minute chalk, right? So that's kind of why I want to say that, like, even though like this is one of those like special, like, I think things where we kind of want to bend the rules a bit because price is just so extended, right? If it's gonna do this, I don't want to have my swing structure like all the way down here and say like, oh, I'm gonna take a long off of a 1-minute chalk here. Like, that just doesn't make sense to me. Would I do it as low as here? Yes, but anything lower, I'm gonna wait, right? And even then with this, like, same thing. I might even potentially wait for, like, to play a continuation. It doesn't necessarily have to be a 15-minute change of character, but I'll look to play like a chain, a demand chain, right? And I want to see supply failures on the 1-minute to actually like enter, right? And so that's kind of what happened here. Price didn't even really pull back that much. It kind of just kept going and going and going, right? So I think there was one valid trade, but even then it was a bit of a stretch. And there's a reason I didn't enter it. It's because, I mean, for New York session, it was pretty it's pretty slow, right? It's just ranging. I kind of had like a feeling that it was going to break out, but it's not enough for me to like put money on the line, right? It didn't give me like that conviction I want when I want to enter a trade. So, in terms of POIs, obviously for London, for those of you that traded London, like, I don't think there was really much you could have taken here. We'll go down on the 1-minute in a second, but yeah, let's just mark this out too, right? Because there's this zone here. Now the problem I had with this, and the reason I wouldn't enter this, is like, look, supply was holding here, right? Yeah, we had equals, but it didn't fail until like after the fact, right? Which is why I would have waited for like a later continuation. Like, we didn't even wick higher than this high, right? So we did in hindsight. So I'll show you guys that, right? We wicked it here, but like, who's to say that wasn't a sweep either, right? So again, it wasn't like inspiring a lot of confidence in me to enter long on this, right? Despite it being extremely bullish, right? I didn't want to chase a trade here. So let's pull back to London now, right? So we get our break here. We'll go on the 1-minute. In terms of like POIs again, like, what would we have marked out, right? Probably stuff in and around Asia. I wouldn't be opposed to like even looking at this, right? Because this is kind of our flip zone that was here that caused this level of supply to fail, right? And so we had like a nice like sweep essentially kind of here. I'm guessing on the lower time frame on the 1-minute. I can kind of see it here just by eyeballing it, right? But this is a decent level that I would potentially look at. And then you also have all these other levels below that are like half decent too. Like, this one's okay, right? So you probably would have anticipated, okay, you want price to come back into that, and then you can look to try and play like longs from there, right? What happens? Price spikes up, right? Let's look at London Open here. Did you guys think there were any valid trades in London, like for Open, or
No.
No?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, we'll see.
No, I got pretty chilled up sometimes. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. So I'm gonna just start like marking out, and I'm gonna try and break it down a little bit, right, minute by minute. But so far for me, like,
yeah, there is
sorry,
a trade
go
in London.
say that again. Cool.
Oh, I said for me there is a trade in London, but I
On
do
EU?
things a little bit different.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's explore it a bit, because like I want to look at this for you a little bit. You were requesting it, right?
Yeah.
For me so far, like, just based on this, like, if I were in session trading London, which I don't anymore, I used to, right? As you guys know, I would 100% be waiting for like this pullback here. It's not to say that these wicks couldn't work, but it's just like, I'd expect this, right? I don't know what's gonna happen. I never like claim to, and like you shouldn't, because nobody can know, right? But it looks like, price is gonna pull back into this. So like, why would I try and take a subpar long and chase it, right? But let's see. It looks like we're getting a reaction off of this. Where is our level of supply that's failing? We have this one. Price is kind of chaining off of this. I won't go too deep into it, marking out like, you know, our supply failures and stuff. You guys get the idea, right? This is what I'm talking about. Just for the sake of it, so we can cover like more than one thing here. And then let's see, price is kind of chaining off of this. I mean, maybe you could long off this, but I just think it's like, it's kind of risky, right? Let's see, maybe this one will hold. We kind of had, right, this is that level I'm talking about of supply that generated liquidity, swept it, and then kind of went up, right? Let me just clear these drawings again. So let's see. Does price come into that? Yeah, it does. So is this the long you're thinking of, Ku?
No, I was thinking on longing here.
Okay. Oh yeah, you want to play the reaction, yeah.
Oh.
How about you?
Exactly. Yeah. So for me, this is highs because I use the Asian,
But I
Asia
missed
high, right? So they grab the Asia high, they move down, they break the structure, they come back here, will be a long.
Okay, I see. That makes sense to me. Yeah, it's a bit aggressive because you didn't tap into a 15-minute, but I actually understand like the play that you're trying to do here. So it's not bad. It's not bad at all. Asia high is actually down here for me. So like we broke out of that essentially, right? It's really interesting because I didn't expect this at all. I actually thought price was gonna come deeper into this like 4-hour / daily.
That's why I missed that trade.
Yeah.
I was expecting the same.
And if you guys know, I shorted from here, right? I actually exited pretty early. I only took like net 5R between 3 trades. I took a break even and 1 loss, and then like 6 point something. So I shorted here, right? And I was expecting like, okay, there's liquidity here. It's probably gonna go lower, right?
Yeah.
Literally like support held, which doesn't happen very often. And price reverse, right? But yeah, price breaks out. I mean, you do have like a ton of momentum to the upside, but yeah, again, look, I was waiting for this, right? Or I would have been waiting for that if I were trading London, I'm saying. So let's see, Miguel, if it retests that. I don't think there's a bad level to even play off of either. Let's see, we'll cover this low too, right? Okay, taps in. Did you catch this, Miguel? This is a good trade, dude.
And I was targeting. My target was the 4-hour level supply. It was a 140 trade, and I missed
Holy
it.
shit, dude, nice. I didn't even know you caught that.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't? You didn't?
No, I missed.
It's all good. What's up, Rama? How are you?
Fine, and you?
Good, good. What's up?
Would you consider this a chalk?
Oh yeah, sorry. So that's one thing I forgot to mention in here. Yeah, our chalk, right? Where is our chalk? That's a good question. So okay, let me explain it this way, because here's the thing, right? That I'm starting to like understand a bit more as like, you know, I get better and better at this type of trading, right? Because I never used to trade this this way. If you guys know, I mean, I used to trade in a similar fashion, but I would always wait for, you know, POIs. I wouldn't necessarily play like these continuations and stuff, right? I was kind of using like the legacy model. If any of you guys remember that, if you were around from like last year and stuff, right? Yeah. But here's the thing, right? What you can do is when you see it like a chain like this, right, on the 1 minute, like again, even though I personally wouldn't have played this, I may have actually. It's hard to say, right? I would have probably wanted to see this level fail, if I'm being real with you guys, right? This level of supply up here. But what I was kind of getting at was, if we have like a nice chain like this developing of demand, right, where we keep respecting it, we keep, you know, violating levels of supply, even these internal ones, because technically they get taken out, right? We can look to treat this almost like a higher time frame POI, right? So if we do that, right, and price comes in and say this was our POI, right? So I'll mark it green so that we know, okay? You almost treat this like a 15-minute in a sense, right? Just do it like that, right? So okay, price comes in.
There's another one there.
Yeah. Well, there's this one first, right? So I would say this is your first chalk here. When you take this low, or no, sorry, it would be after price obviously taps in, right? So obviously we took this low, price then taps in, I'd be waiting for this high to go, right? If I wanted to be more conservative, right, and really wait for confirmation, right? I hate that word, but like, you know, it's just more validity to like the setup, then I'd be waiting for like both of these highs to go. I do that sometimes. I wait for almost like a double chalk. in a sense, right? Because then I know, okay, we're taking out multiple levels. It's not just like a fake, a fake out. Okay, look, obviously price zooms through that, right? Now price retests this, right? So by now I would have left the limit on that, right? Based on this chalk, right? So Raman, does that answer your question about it? I don't know where else you had it marked out, but I would say this is your valid, technically your valid chalk, right? And also the high. I like doing 2 sometimes. It really, like, for me, it gives me confidence to like actually throw the limit on, right? Or like be ready to smack market when price comes and taps into my alert or whatever, right? And then if we were to play this as a POI, because again, you could just keep playing these as POIs, right? Imagine this is a POI again. Where would my chalk be? I think some people would argue this, like this would for sure be a seconds chalk. I don't like counting stuff like this. It's one candle, right? To be fair, and this is very subtle. I'll zoom into it so you guys can see, right?
Yeah.
Oh, actually, you know what? It doesn't even go higher. If this had gone higher like this, right, and we had like a little sweep like that, as we push down, then I would be okay with it. Actually, no, I would never be okay with it. It's one candle. What am I saying? For me, the chalk would be here, right? I want this high to go. Because at least we have a real pullback here, right? I think, Miguel, you agree with that, right? So let's see, price pushes up.
For me, this one is not a shock as price traded lower.
Yeah.
Hey,
And then-
Roboto.
Yeah, what's up? You could probably play this.
Yeah. Yeah, with this POI which you've marked right now, you can just correct me when the price, rise very aggressively from a POI without leaving any inducement, it tends to get wiped out or swept off. Is it because I tend to get afraid when this goes very high, very fast without leaving any, without pulling back and going up? It tends to give me a chance that it will first sweep it and then go up. Something which like Alex talks about.
So can you mark on here where you're talking about you think is going to get swept? Or like where in the
Yeah,
scenario you're talking?
I just annotate.
Yeah, sure, annotate, yeah.
Yeah, for like this POI, it's a very aggressive push. So it doesn't have any inducement or something, which I don't see in what he talks about, like a structural liquidity type of thing.
Yeah, so you're talking about like inducement in here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I tend to, I get afraid by these type of entries. When it prices very fast, then it gives me some sort of become uncomfortable types. Like it might go like this, and then it will go like this, something like this.
Yeah, it's a good question. So for me, I used to actually kind of have a similar thing to you, where I would want liquidity everywhere, right? But really, what I did to kind of like fix that is I did a bunch of daily recaps. I follow the models that I use now, like to the T, right? And if you'll notice, right, if you have them, I'll pull them up on the screen for you guys here in a second. But if you look at like, it's really just like model like A and B. They don't even really have, okay, well B has liquidity after the fact, but like model A, which works all the time, it only has liquidity before, right? Before like the mitigation of our like POI, right? Before we enter our POI essentially. So for me, like it doesn't matter because like you said, right? Price is pushing away pretty quickly away from it, showing us that there's like a lot of intent behind it. And not only that, you actually technically do have liquidity. It's very subtle, but like you see how we have this reaction to supply, right? Now the only thing is the supply didn't fail yet, right? But this is still like a little bit of liquidity. Anybody who, like, you have to think of the logic behind it, right? You see like a big move like this, anybody who is trying to play this pullback and maybe enters like market, they're probably going to put their stop below here, right? So they get used as liquidity, they get swept out, and you can enter here. But even if this wasn't here and price just kind of shot up, like almost like this, and then came right back down, I'd be happy to throw a thing on there.
Same thing. I was also waiting for the supply to fail, and it didn't fail, so it put me off. And I thought this will use a liquidity. Some crazy thing it came in my mind and didn't take this entry. And will this be considered as a liquidity which I've marked? Like this type of thing?
Yeah, it's very minor, right? You know what else is liquidity? I'll actually show you, because here's the thing that, I mean, you can kind of look at to give you a little bit of confidence too, right? You have this level of supply in here, right? So it's internal supply, but it's still supply, right?
Right.
And we'll mark it out as this range, because I want to try and justify, okay, why is price like, doing what it's doing, right? So to me, it's this range, right? price comes, taps into it, whatever, generates liquidity before the fact. We come tap in, push up. Within this candle, it looks like price comes, taps in, pushes back down. So technically this is liquidity too, right?
Yeah,
'Cause
right.
it's coming, tapping, and then you have a failure of this internal supply. So like that's good, right? But I think I'd be the same with you in my approach to this. Like it doesn't really line up with what I like to trade. Like I prefer like higher probability stuff. It's not to say that this wasn't like a good trade or whatever. It just I would have liked to personally see this, right? And then price come tap into this, right? That would be the ideal scenario. Then I would hit that all day, right?
Yeah.
I think for you, like in terms of confidence, like yeah, just go do like daily recaps and mark out stuff like this, right? Because you'll start seeing like a pattern in like how the setups kind of form, right? And you'll see there's no like reason to be fearful of leaving a limit on a zone like that, right? The only thing that would honestly concern me with this is what I mentioned at the start of this is you have like this trend line liquidity, right? So imagine we have stops here, right? And even like if you were to enter this, look, where's our stop? It's sitting here, right? So you have trend line liquidity there sitting above a nice 15-minute POI, right? So again, not to say that like this can't work because I mean honestly like you guys know that like you don't need to have any trading skill to make money in the market, right? Like any like you could give a baby like an MT4 terminal and have them hit a button, they could make money, right? It's all like a probabilistic thing at the end of the day, right? Now to make money like obviously in a consistent manner is a different thing, right? But I'm just saying like, you know, on a one trade event type like basis, right? I mean this works. It could have swept it. It could have not tapped us in, right? Just like if we were to just try and play like a retest of this, like price doesn't really tap it in, right? Or like retest it. Actually, it would have retested this though. So this might have been another way that you could have played this, right? And then we got like this failure here, right? So
Yeah.
Whatever you wanted to
This
play.
is right. Yeah, this can be done. Yeah.
But man, that ran. That was pretty crazy. I haven't actually done my daily recap, so there you go. We just did it together.
You got another entry?
Where Miguel? Oh, here?
You have a flip. It sweeps liquidity.
Oh,
here.
this one? Oh, this one, right?
I just told
Oh,
you.
that's pretty subtle. I didn't even see that.
I have only I saw that after.
Oh yeah,
it
look at
happened.
that.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Yeah, even with this one, like,
Because I was expecting price here to take a continuation.
yeah.
And
Okay, so
only after I
think
saw
we're-
this
we're-
here.
Yeah, I
This
also
could
same
be
thing.
yeah, I
Same thing.
I would be hesitant. See, this would make me nervous.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is probably where I would leave a
That
limit.
was
to.
so subtle that I didn't saw it in real time.
It's too subtle, but sometimes it's the subtle things that work, right? But that's fine, right? It all boils down to what's in your trading plan at the end of the day, right? That's pretty
Yeah.
nice, though.
Expecting that
That's
level,
interesting.
level here.
You got
Also.
your failure here, right? So here's what I wonder now is there a retest within this leg? Because when I see this breakout, right, then I'm thinking, okay, maybe we can try and play one of these retests or something, right? There's probably a lot of momentum behind it. What would I be looking at? I don't really see anything nice other than the extreme, really, right? If I want to like try and play the chain, right? Let's see. Play
You
price
have
through.
nothing more.
I have a feeling this is going to hold for some reason, but I would not leave a limit on this, to be clear, right? If anything, I'd play like the reaction. It sweeps it, okay. Yeah, sometimes it just sweeps into nothing, right?
Yeah. After this,
Roberto,
price became lower.
Yeah.
I have a question. May I make a question?
Yeah, of course, Daniel, what's up?
At that point where you said it was like sketchy, where price jumped upwards in that little, right there.
Mhm.
Let me see if I can mark it up. That right there. Would you consider that a flip?
Here? Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a flip, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it sweeps, right, and it reacts, and then kind of pushes up, right? The point is, like, here's the thing: a flip, there's high probability flips and there's like low probability flips, right? As long as you have a level of, you know, in this case for like a long, right, a supply getting tapped into and it's getting overrun by that same leg of price action, that's considered a flip, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, that's a flip, and like again, it's a subtle one, so I wouldn't necessarily say it's high probability. Whatever, it worked. It swept something, so that's kind of, you know, something in its favor in terms of probability of it working. But yeah, I mean, like, I'd be like Miguel. I'd be waiting for this because this is even nicer, right? And what I would honestly want to investigate here, right? This is one of those situations. I don't use the seconds, but I would want to look on the seconds and see, okay, did we get a reaction here? And did it sweep and then did it take off, right? That's what I'd be interested in, right? Not only that, we also chained like kind of back and forth here. There's like a few ways that you can kind of interpret this, right? Even if I just mark it as like, you know, we have our level of sell to buy price action here, right? We get a very like subtle sweep again here, right? You guys can see it. Price pushes down, pushes up, right? Then this is the next level of demand that holds. Price pushes down, pushes up. We get our supply failure. So yeah, to me, this would be like the higher probability chain that I would want to play off of, right?
Gotcha.
Does that answer the question?
Thank you. Yes, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
No problem. Who's marking this out in pink? Who marked that out? Let's see what happens. We kind of know this is like super bullish anyways, right? But
Yeah. Won't go.
yeah, just want to see if...
Hello, Roberto and Miguel.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, both of you, because this week I've been looking for longs all week long, and today they finally happened. But today I was unsure about taking longs because we didn't have anything at London session, anything that made us think that longs were going to play off, because there was no break of structure, no chalk. Yes, there was a chalk, but coming from a heavy downtrend as we were, what do you guys look for before taking longs?
Depends. Now the price reacted on a 4-hour zone. I wouldn't search for longs unless we had a 15-minute chop. After that, I would play the reaction on the zone that completed the chop on the 15 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, are you talking about for New York session? What we look for longs, or are you saying for London?
Yes, I only traded London today.
Okay.
And I took a loss.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, like I'm the same as Miguel. Like I'd be waiting. Remember what I said at the start? If you were here, I want to wait for the 4-hour chalk because this is just so bearish, right? Like otherwise I'm not going to try and like force along. And even then, I don't care to be the first one in, right? I want to wait for a high probability zone to get tapped into. If it doesn't, like I'm not going to force it, right? Because there's the thing, if you force a trade every day, you're just going to rack up losses. Like
Yeah, that was me this week.
This week
fine,
I didn't trade it almost.
I have to learn that I don't have to trade every day.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's an important, that's a big shift. Once you like really understand that, it'll change your trading. Trust me, because you don't need to trade every day. It's true. You can be like Dan. This guy trades like 6-7 times a month between 3 pairs. Take that in, right?
Yeah.
So, and he
Thank you,
does
guys.
pretty good. He does pretty good. So let's see. So yeah, I don't think there was any entries in here during London lull. Not for me, anyways. Like I really don't see anything here that I would. If anything, it would have been these zones that didn't get tapped into. I would probably leave a limit on them, but at the same time, I wouldn't because look, we have kind of demand holding, right? I'm not sure. if this happened to-
Roberto.
Yeah. What's up?
Yeah, when in 1 minute when you see a demand chain lining up like you have drawn right now,
Yeah.
right? So do you put a limit once you see a demand chain lining up, or do you wait for a model which Blackwatch always talks about, like a supply being always being stuck and then the supply fades and then you wait for the demand to rise, something like that?
Yeah.
You got my point?
No, that's a good question, Krishna. So yeah, no, I do exactly like Blackwatch. It's not that I'm just waiting for the demand chain. Do you remember what I marked out here? I want to see supply fail and I want to see supply generate liquidity and sweep it, right? If that's not happening, I'm not going to play the chain.
Yeah.
And usually it is, right? I mean, if you have a chain kind of developing, like
Like the one you
practice
right
is-
just now you've drawn it. You
Yeah.
just drawn it right now. So
Yeah,
what
that's-
will you look into it first?
yeah. So if you remember what I explained earlier, right? number one is always, I want to see a reaction to supply, a sweep of that liquidity, right? So in this case, we're actually kind of like reacting to a lot of internal supply here, right? And you see how it generates liquidity? So I'll kind of draw a diagram at the side here to illustrate what I'm talking about, right? So imagine this is your supply zone, right? Let me see if I can kind of like draw this out the way it was kind of developing here, right? So here's our first level of demand that, you know, we haven't chained yet or whatever, or maybe we chained off of something in here, right? And so like there's our initial chain of demand, right? Price is then tapping in. So we're getting reactions, right? Price is tapping into the supply, tapping into it, and then, great, we sweep those reactions, right? And then look, at the same time, we're mitigating this, right? Maybe we tap in again, and then our level of supply gets overrun, right? So that's now failed. That tells me, okay, demand's in control. They just overtook supply, right? And then look, this to me is very likely going to be liquidity. If not, maybe there was a reaction in here, and price could come into one of these two levels, right? And continue the chain. What happens? Price comes in, right? And this is where I'd be looking to enter, right? And so that's pretty much what this is, right? Does that diagram make sense? Because here's the thing with this, right? If we're looking at how price essentially like chained and generated that liquidity, this is also where we got our change of character, right? In a sense, right? So where's our change of character here, right? So usually, like for the most part, when I'm looking for my change of character, it's the same thing as me looking for my failure of supply, right? In a long scenario. For shorts, for a short scenario, obviously it's my demand failing, right? So you just flip it, right? So you have reactions to demand fails. Where's my chalk, right? When price comes and taps into my POI, right? So we tap into our POI here, right? We take the high, we take this low, and then I'd be happy to throw a limit on that and enter here, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Robert, I had one question with respect to yesterday's PA, but if you want to finish off this, then we can go to that question later.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm happy to look at yesterday's too, because it was interesting. I got involved with it despite kind of not really wanting to, because I mean it was Thanksgiving, right? It was very rangy price action.
Yesterday I took a break even. The only trade I took.
I wonder if we took the same one, Miguel, the same break even. But then I kept hitting it, and then I actually, so there is one scenario, so I know you guys keep on asking, right? Like, in what case would you take longs? The only case I would take a long is for a hedge, right? Unless we get our 4-hour chalk or whatever, right? In a really bearish market like this. So I'll show you guys how I did that in a second, but let's look at New York really quickly here, and then we can rewind back into that, right? I'm gonna go back on the 15-minute. And let's see. So yeah, this is still London lull. Oh no, this is New York open now. Okay, so we get our first sort of reaction to supply here, right? And this is what really like kind of turned me off to it. Just like we have price exhaustion, you know, to the downside, we can also get price, like intraday price exhaustion too, right? Where, you know, either price is going to break out, whatever, right? But at some point it has to rest too, right? Like it needs to take a break and kind of consolidate, right? Usually what it is like a bank accumulating orders or whatever, right? To continue like pushing their order along, right? Maybe they want to like fill their bags a little bit more. That's the way that I see it anyways. Again, it's a theory type thing, but like, you know, it kind of helps to have like a story behind it, right? Because then you remember it better, right? So okay, we have this 15-minute level, right? Again, we'd be pro trend if we're looking for longs. You guys know that, right? It's just price is pretty extended, right? So for me, I would not have looked for, and I did not look for longs here because I was up for this. I think what happened was price swept here. We still have our level of supply, and I'll just refine this for the sake of our back testing call here. This is holding, right? This supply level, and we're expecting it to break, obviously, because it's in the way of the trend, right? It's counter trend. It shouldn't hold, right? But whatever, price consolidates. It looks like it chained off of this again, and not a level that I would like look to play off of directly, right? Unless this level fails, I wouldn't really like be looking for longs or whatever, right? What happens? Okay, we sweep it, right? So if anything, what's the level I would be like most interested in looking at? This one, right? But for me, like again, it's just consolidating so much. This is not really a ton of conviction. Yeah, it closed above it, and we had a supply failure, but you know, and we have liquidity here. We have liquidity here that was generated, right, as a result of reactions, right? Sorry, it actually technically be this here, right? And actually even this, because this reacted to it, right? Created liquidity. So we kind of have internal range liquidity sitting here, right? You guys agree with that? So anything, I think maybe you could play this. It's a little aggressive. For me, if anything, there was one other long that I'll show you guys I'd be more interested in taking, right? And the other thing, you also had this starting to hold too, right? I think you could have played this. I can't remember if it taps into this. Oh no, it doesn't. Yeah, so I think this is the only thing I would have like considered playing. It did end up tapping into this level here. But look, now we have, again, supply kind of chaining here after a sweep. So what does that tell me, right? It tells me like prices either can consolidate or potentially like pull back, right? Did it fake me out? Yes. There was liquidity generated here in the form of trendline liquidity. What happens? It breaks out, right? So to me, there was nothing that was like, it didn't like speak to me and tell me like, okay, let's throw a limit on this, right? So even this, I didn't throw a limit on it. I just didn't like the way price was moving around, right? There's this level here too, but again, look, like you have both sides kind of like in control in a sense, right? So we're chaining on both sides. We built liquidity here, right? For me, unless like this really like closes above here, then I'm not really gonna look to try and like play any of this. Like maybe we could try and play this internal chain, knowing that like, okay, it could get swept, and then, you know, price would tap us into this, right? So there's kind of like two options to play here, right? I'm just gonna move this over to the right for a bit. But so far, does that make sense to you guys? Like, how did you guys approach it? What do you think the best long was here? If we were gonna like try and force one, right? What do you think? Look, now we did actually close above it. This is kind of where I stopped looking at it, to be honest. I played like Resident Evil. Like I just stopped looking at the charts. It's late. It's Friday. Like I didn't want to get involved in this, right? And like sacrifice R. Like there's just no point.
Yeah, I stopped looking at the charts at around 4 o'clock London time.
So I don't know if it actually even taps into this. I think it just broke out, right? There wasn't really much to play. Yeah, there you go. It goes, right? Like I would not have played this because like personally it doesn't really do anything, right? If anything, these are the two levels I'd look to play, right? So it would be one of those no trade days, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's no reason to like force a trade. I would not force this. There's no reason to do this, right? Yeah, these two are kind of the best ones. I wouldn't look to play this, right? Because again, like supply hasn't really failed. Like we start having like supply getting respected, right? Yes, there's liquidity here to target, of course, right? But I don't know, to me, unless price came and tapped into this, and of course like it could have, right? There's always a chance that could have happened, right? So I think these would have been like wonderful plays if it did tap in, right? Because then we'd be looking at like what on this one, if it did tap in, you know, 7R. If it tapped into this one, whatever, we took an L on the other one, then okay, we're netting 7.7R, right? Because we take an L on this, or maybe a break even, right? But whatever, price didn't play out that way today, no biggie. Shane's saying we could have taken this one. Shane, this one's a little high in the leg for me, but I get what you're saying. I mean, if you wanted to play that, you could. I'd say this is valid. It's just aggressive, that's all.
Yeah,
and
it's too high.
That's my problem. Too aggressive with it.
Yeah. Did you take
too
this?
many? No, but I would have done.
Yeah. 6 pip stop loss.
That's why I
pretty volatile, right?
I get my wins and then I end up giving it all back to market. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why I'm apprehensive at certain times like this. Like,
I'm
and
trying
for
my
like
best
good
to-
reason, you know.
I'm trying my best to zoom out and focus on M15s and that.
Yeah, like this week was a good week for like patience. You know what I mean? Like learning like the skill of patience, because you wait around for the right trades or whatever. Like you're gonna hit them, right? But you force them a bit, you're gonna give it back. It's just
I do.
it's the
I
nature
force
of
them
it.
sometimes. It's something I'm learning on. It's no good.
Well, that's fine. We're all learning, right? Like same
That's
here.
it.
We all get better over time, right? As we practice. That's why I like doing these calls, because like I learn something from it usually. I know you guys learn stuff, right? So it helps us all improve. So okay, let's look at yesterday's price action, and then we'll do for like the last whatever half hour. we can do some actual like back testing, right? Maybe we can start from Monday. We'll do like 4 hour, 15, whatever. We'll play through it, and I'll let you guys. We'll make it interactive. I'll let you guys pick zones and stuff that you want to enter. And I'll try to like guide you
There
guys.
is a nice short today, but again, it's out of my time
Oh,
zone.
like right now?
Right. Earlier, so if you just go and play, so, so this is how I see it, right? Yeah. So knowing that, price pushed up, tap into this H1 POI,
Yeah.
and they fail to create a higher high. So when price comes down and create a low and a lower low, the back of my mind was like, okay, so we tap into the H1 POI, which is a very nice one. And then, I thought about taking it from here, right?
Yeah. Okay, I see. I see the
so-
idea you're talking
Yeah,
about.
and then there'll be a nice, a quick 10-hour today and get out of the market, right? Probably even more. But I saw this trade, but again, it's out of my windows.
Yeah. If I'm being honest, Koo, for me, like this chalk is like a little too subtle. Like I personally would wait for like this one. Either like if we have like very like subtle pullbacks like this, I'm either waiting for both or I'm waiting for something like more concrete. Like we take this high and then we take this low. You know what I mean? If price had gone up higher and then pushed lower, right?
Also, you are playing in a 1 hour zone or 4 hour zone. I think the 1 minute shot, that's too easy.
Yeah, like I'd be waiting for, and you're counter to 15 minute, right? Like after this big bullish move. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get the idea, but like this to me is not high probability. It's great it worked, right? If you took it, like that's cool. As long as it's within your plan though, right? Like if this is violating your rules of like what you should be entering or shouldn't be entering, then like you gotta be careful with that type of trade, right? Like
my fear is missing out on the trades, because when they go, and then I end up giving that much back to market, try to get in on continuation. It ends up coming straight against me and then just wiping me out anyway.
Yeah, that's why you gotta be careful
Seems to
chasing
reverse.
too much, right? Like there's a certain, like for me, like I said, like if this had like failed earlier, there's a certain amount of times that I'll try to like hit it. Like usually it's like 2 to 3 chains in a sense. If we have like bullish order flow, right, where we're like mitigating demand and stuff. Anything past that, like you can take scale ins and stuff, but there's a certain point you should stop because it's gonna pull back, right? You're getting worse and worse prices.
Yeah,
really,
that's
like you need volatility on your side for that kind of play, right?
Yeah, I need to learn how to scale out properly and just just wait for the proper setups rather than.
Yeah, that's why I'm pretty aggressive
jumping
with,
in all
with
the
my
time.
partials too, right? Like I'm happy to take stuff. So
Yeah, it catches me out all the time.
yeah. So let's look now at yesterday really quickly. I'm going to show you guys my live journal thing here because I actually have it marked up already. We'll play through it with my markups, just in the interest of time, so we have time to actually backtest afterwards too. So this London one like is again whatever to me. At least with this actually kind of looks similar to like the price action today, right? But look, at least we took this out, right? Again, we wicked it, right? But then we wicked it a couple times, and then there's a nice demand chain here, right? But then I wouldn't have chased it any further than that because look, where does price come and pull back to? The edge of the chain, right? So we always want to be trying to play the edge of the chain as much as possible. So let's start from 4 hour on this one. Okay, it's bearish, right? Obviously. 15 minute. What's 15 minute? Based on the swing structure. Again, it's pretty similar to how we marked it out earlier, right? We are bullish, right? But then look, we come in, we tap into this level here, right? Just barely kind of tap into it, right? So let's look at New York session specifically, so I can break down like why I entered where I entered, right? So you guys get the POI. Yeah, what's up?
Robert, sorry I'm interrupting you right now.
That's okay.
Will you, for the first tap, it was a very vigorous mitigation, like it rejected very fast, right? And
Here?
so why won't you look for short when you see that? Why won't you go?
Well, I
The
am
first
just
tap,
waiting
why
for
won't
price.
you-
I'm waiting for price to develop, right? I want to see it come and retest, like, and create a chain first. for me to like start entering it. Also, I wasn't up at 5 a.m. So that's the other answer to your question. Let's look there. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, you could have played this, but it's like, yeah, I don't know. I'd rather play the chain. It also consolidated quite a bit too, right? And you're kind of outside of like the ideal hours. I know usually like, I kind of like stripped my rules down a little bit on this. I'm not as strict with it, but like, partly it's because I'm not up at that time. I don't like trading like that early in the morning. I know that there's usually a lot of volatility in and around like 8, 9 a.m. Eastern, right? Because it's New York session. So I'm looking to hit trades at that time more than, it's where the sessions overlap, right? Between London close and New York open, right? I don't know how many hours session or how many hours the overlap is. I think it's like, 5 hours, right? 4 hours, whatever. For me, if this had happened in New York session, we came and tapped in. Number one, we didn't really mitigate this 15-minute that deeply. So like that's one thing that would maybe keep me out of it, but I would potentially look for a trade here, right? And like, look, you could have maybe shorted off of like something like this, right? This is pretty low probability though. If anything, you have like the extreme to play off, right? And what happens?
So one question, will you put I had put the limits on the extreme, but I then
Here?
took it off later on. Once I saw the price consolidating, I thought it would just shoot up and it would take the high. So I removed it, and yeah, luckily I was saved from the loss.
Yeah.
But my question is, till what time do you prefer to keep the limit on? If till the time, I had developed theory that till the time it doesn't react from a demand. If it reacts from a demand, I'll take off the limit. But if it just comes out like a pull back, then I usually keep the limit on.
Yeah, it's very like, yeah, it's contextual, right? Like you said, if it taps into a demand and we see demand is chaining, I'd probably take it off, right? But if it's within your plan to, and like it depends on like the specificity of your plan too, right? Like if you're that specific and you have like a certain rule like that, that's fine. For me, like, did I think about leaving a limit on here? Like I was up for this, right? Because I woke up at like 6:30 and I saw it consolidating. Yeah, I thought about leaving a limit on there, but then I was like, okay, might as well just wait for like, I don't need to be the first one in, right? I don't know if this is gonna get swept higher, right? So I had the same like thought process as you did, right? Because I think you were thinking this might get swept into some refined zone to the left, right? For all we know, right? It's yeah, I mean, it's a tough one, right? What else did I want to see? I wanted to see like, some sort of supply fill, especially when price came this aggressively back into it, right? Like who's to say? And I mean, it does sweep it, right? It sweeps it by a few ticks if I remember, right? So I think had I left a limit on this, which I didn't, right? I thought about it, like I said. I would have number one done this, and then I
was the one who had sweat here.
Yeah. I would have done like probably a 2.5 to 3 pip stop loss, so it would be questionable. I don't know if I would have like stayed in, right? So to me, I just thought, okay, like let's wait a little bit. Let's see like supply fill, right? As I have it marked out here. Or sorry, demand fill, right?
My break even was here. I took this.
You took a break even here? Yeah.
Yeah. I saw this as inducement.
Yeah.
Entered here by market and went out on break even. This level was
yeah, I actually think Dan took that too. So yeah, I mean, to answer your question, Krishna, like there you go, right? Like one of the other team members, 2 of the other team members took shorts here. Like it's valid enough, right? It's just whatever, you manage your risk effectively and like you get break even on it, whatever, and then you hit it again, right? So yeah, it's not like I wouldn't look for something here because we did tap into a POI and we got a reaction off of it. It's just, for me, the timing was not good. I wasn't awake, and I don't like trading during London lull. Like I prefer the volatility of like New York session and New York open, right? And you'll see, right? Like so, this one's at around 9. It works out, right?
Yeah, just this POI which Miguel took. Initially, it didn't have a flip, but because of inducement, I think so he entered that, right?
No, you have a flip here.
Which one? For this one?
No, this one. I just might.
You have a flip.
Where he took the.
Oh yeah, it's a flip. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But it didn't take out the liquidity, right? Because I was a bit confused with it.
No, but we have inducement here.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so you have like post inducement in a sense, right?
Yeah, that's why I entered here by market.
Yeah. So for me personally, like, and this is where like me and Miguel maybe differ a little bit. I would want to see some sort of liquidity here. Like this one, like here's the thing, these work all the time, right? But part of it is like you having the skill to like you know, be able to recognize them. They're hard to pick out sometimes. If you're new to this and like you've been doing it for whatever 3 months, 6 months, you're not gonna have that skill. Like unless you have the chart time, right? So for me, it's like, okay, it's a chart time thing, number one. Number two, I want to see, like, if anything, I would look on the 15 second to see, okay, are we producing a reaction, creating liquidity? You could maybe argue there was some liquidity here, right? The price kind of came in. This was bearish, it reacted, and then it swept it. But I don't know. To me, I'd personally like to play like the retest of this, if anything, right? So if price came and retested here, then I would look to play it, right? And here's the thing, I don't even really use the 15 second anymore. I don't enter off the 15 second. I use it for looking at liquidity like that, and like even that's to me is a bit of a stretch. But I think the reason Miguel entered it is because he had a lot of momentum, you had a flip. He has the experience to know like which ones are gonna hold for the most part, so that's okay. If it's in his plan, whatever, he took it, right? It's good. I think both are valid, right? This one's just this one to me maybe though is not valid within my personal trading plan though. I wouldn't take it. But look, it works for a bit, right? So
Robert, to the second part which you're right on drawing.
What here?
Yeah, this one. So in this case, what I was saying is I thought of this one you marked, right? Where I think you also took a loss, right, in this one.
Yeah, so yeah, let me actually explain all of these trades for you, because that's what I was going to do next. And then we'll I just want to be mindful of time here so that we have a little bit of time to actually like back test too. So yeah, I'll explain all this, don't worry. So I'll start off with this, right? Why did I enter this? I think it's pretty obvious based on the markup, right?
Now that I was seeing, sorry, Robert,
yeah.
I entered in here. This was my inducement, and I went out break even.
Yeah. There you go. And you covered the high, right, Miguel?
Yeah,
up here?
I covered this high.
Okay, good. Yeah, that makes sense. See, that to me is like.
But I went out break even when price got here again.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, but there you go. Your manage was risked, or sorry, your risk was managed. I got my. I'm a little sleepy, guys. Sorry.
I was not very trustful of this trade.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah, because it ranged for so long, right?
I wanted to get out to get off risk as fast as I could.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, so yeah, back to this, right? Why did I enter this? Okay, look, we had this level of demand, price came in, we created reactions, we swept that reaction, price then violated this level of demand. It violated 2 levels of demand, actually. 3 levels, 4 levels, 5 levels, right? All this like internal range liquidity got taken out, right? We then came, we tapped into this, whatever, that didn't concern me all that much. I knew it was rangy, so I was happy to try and play like, you know, continuation here. But then obviously, I mean, you'll see what happens, right? So, okay, taps me in, right? I'm in the trade. I get a pretty decent fill. And then I'm kind of looking, okay, I get tapped out. That's fine. Not a big deal. It doesn't even really bother me, right? Because I'm like, okay, either what's going to happen now is we're going to chain off of the extreme or off of this, right? But for this, I'm not going to enter it right away. Yeah, okay, price swept, whatever. But this to me, like, is kind of nothing, right? It's one of those like things Blackwatch, Brian always says, okay, it's a nondescript level of supply that we're tapping into, right? Maybe it's going to chain, maybe it's not. So what do I do next? I mark out my minor level of demand here, right? Okay, we blow through it, right? We get a very tiny reaction. So again, this is where I would look at the 15 second. You guys see how we tap into this level? It's technically this range of demand. Price pushes up, right? It creates liquidity, right? And then obviously like this all fails, right? Let's go back to the 1 minute. You technically have 2 levels. You have this level here that fails too, right? If we want to be like really specific about it. So I'm like, okay, that to me tells me, and especially with like the amount of like momentum there was here, that tells me, okay, price is probably going to come and there's, you know, a decent chance that we're going to react off of this, if not the extreme, right? If you guys remember my rule though, right? I will only attack a trade idea twice, right? This encapsulates one trade idea, right? Because we're tapping into one 15-minute zone and I'm just looking to play whatever like continuation of it, right? I think this particular one was a mix of like model A and B between like all of these. I think this was model B and then this is like model A or something, right? So, sorry, let me turn my phone off so we don't have this in the recording. So, okay, look, I get tapped in, right? For me, I actually entered like market on this. That's why my fill is a little bit lower, as you guys can see, right? but whatever, same thing. Price taps in, or if you had a limit there, it would have tapped you in. If you hit market, you hit market, you're in it, right? I see my price start to like fall off. To me, my auto break even level is here, right? So I'm gonna go break even the minute that this crosses over here, and I'm just gonna move my stop loss to cover commissions, right? Okay, great, does that. Now we're running like, I think like 4.5 hours or something, right? And then I'm thinking, okay, this thing is like really rangy, right? Not only are we chaining on the demand side, we've obviously chained on the supply side. We have some good momentum to the downside, that's good, right? But it's Thanksgiving. Let's maybe hedge this so that we can secure like our 5-hour profit, right? I don't want to be like, greedy about it. I'm okay to take this as a full-on loss. I mean, I always am. When I put a trade on, I'm effectively saying, okay, I'm willing to pay the market X amount of risk to find out what happens next, right? So, okay, I throw this on, right? Obviously, like we chained here. This one's more of a risk entry, right? I wouldn't take this on its own. I want to be clear with you guys, right? Because it's just like it's a long in a super like bearish market overall, right? I mean, it's super corrective, but I mean the higher time frame structure and stuff is, it's super bearish. We know that, right? There was no like level of, uh-oh, what happened? Did I disconnect? You guys still there?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Oh, that scared me for a second. For me, there was no level of supply that got taken out or whatever, right? I wasn't waiting for a retest or anything. Again, it's purely to hedge my short position so I can lock in the 5-hour that I was floating, right? Because I was about 5-hour now that price came into this. What else could I have done? I could have hard TP'd, right? Nothing wrong with that. I was like, okay, just in the event that like, this is all liquidity and price pushes down, I want to be able to like capture a little bit more of it, right? So okay, I get into it, price starts pushing up. For this, I was really aggressive with where I went break even on it. It was right here, right? I don't know why the drawing's not here, but it should be here, right? Normally what I would do is it would be like a little higher up, like probably this high, but again, because it's a hedge, I just want to get break even on it, and then I can just float in between this range with that 5-hour locked in, right? It doesn't matter to me what happens. It could break up to the upside, to the downside, it does not matter. I'm risk free, right? So you can see my stop losses are kind of here within the range, right? And then what happens, I get taken out break even for my hedge short, right? Or sorry, my hedge long. Price starts to break out of this range, right? And then at some point here, I was just like, okay, you know what? This was making me, kind of sweaty. I'm just gonna hard TP out of it. So I took, I think it was like 6.89 or 84, something like that. I took that, right? I just TP'd there because I don't know what's going to happen next. There are, like, is it going to hold off this? I don't know, right? Yeah, this was all liquidity. We know that price then, like, dropped another 4R based on this, like, trade that I took, right? Down to here, but, like, whatever. I did not want to be greedy with it, right? Like, why am I going to try to, essentially swing trade on Thanksgiving? It doesn't make sense. Where's the volatility in the market, right? So I was happy with that. That was a good trade for me. It was a really good day. It was a challenging day, I'd say. It didn't feel challenging, but like, for me personally, I'm proud of myself because I managed my risk like perfectly. I don't see any errors with what I did, right? I stuck to my plan. I didn't hesitate when I took my first loss, right? I entered again. I was good to go, right? So hopefully that kind of explains my logic behind it. Did anybody else catch this short here or no?
There is another opportunity that I saw yesterday. Can you please zoom in a bit?
Yeah, sure. Oh yeah, here, right? Are you talking about like this one?
Yes, I saw. Can I annotate a bit?
Yeah, of course. Go for it.
I saw this breakout structure here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then I was looking at what caused this breakout structure. Then it was this here.
Yes, yeah.
And there was sort of like liquidity that was swept here. So I just So I just wanted a continuation trade from there. Then I put my my limit here that I was tagged in.
Nice. You actually got tagged in on this one. That's good.
Yeah, I only got tagged in
Very
that
subtle.
one.
Yeah. So I was looking at this too because I was already in this short, right? Like I didn't see a reason to really like. This is where I was thinking of exiting, right? I guess a little bit later on. But no, that's good. I think this is absolutely valid. And this is actually interesting. This illustrates a very like key point, I think, because
And
this is what I'm always talking about with liquidity and like demand failure or supply failure, right? Look where my order was, right? It's the exact same thing as me going like this. Look, this is my level of demand that was holding, created liquidity, right? Created liquidity, at least to the opposite side, right? Gets swept, and then price fails, right? Price went through my stop loss, or it would have went through my stop loss if I didn't go like break even on it, right? So it's the same logic behind it. Just imagine where orders are sitting, right? That's how I'm always thinking about the market. It's not like, oh, I'm waiting for a break of structure. I'm thinking, where's the liquidity sitting, right? And when you start to see things from the perspective of, okay, there's supply and demand levels where you have buyers and sellers effectively defending, certain levels in the market. There's liquidity being generated here and there, right? There has to be, some sort of imbalance between buyers and sellers for price actually to move, right? And you always need somebody to take the opposite side of whatever action another person is taking, right? That's how a market operates. Then, I think it kind of helps like to understand, where we want to play, right? It's not just I'm marking out candles on a chart. It goes deeper than that, right? And at the end of the day, I mean, candlesticks are an indicator too, right? You could trade off of a line chart. It's the same thing, but this gives us more information, right? But yeah, no, that's a great trade. I think I didn't even include this in my recap from yesterday, but like, good job. I think that's a fantastic trade. That fits the plan too, right? So it's good. You broke out and everything.
Robert, a quick question, right?
Yeah. What's up, Dean?
Oh, all right. The first entry you took, where you have number 1 on the chart, right? That lost,
Yep.
Was that a chalk? Where you had those 2 horizontal lines? That was a chalk, right? Where you said something like, when prices got the minor demand.
No, so my chalk. So I'll explain where my chalk was on this, right? Price tapped into our 15-minute. My chalk was all the way back here. I was just playing the continuation.
No, to the right side, right? You see where you see number 1 here, right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, right here. Yeah, was that right here? Was that a chalk right here? Yeah,
so
right,
exactly this is a
here.
chalk for my second trade though, or my third trade. Yeah.
Right.
So you see, I'm always looking for the chalk first, right? And then I'm playing the continuation. Right. Yeah. It's not that like this was a chalk for like I wasn't looking to play the reaction of this, right? It always comes before, like, if that makes sense, right? So this chalk was for trade 1. This chalk was for trade 3, right? My second short, right? And then there was no chalk for my hedge because it was a hedge, right? I was okay with just throwing a risk limit on there, right?
Yeah. So, it was because it was in the middle of the range. That's why I asked. Like.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, let's do like our last 20 minutes here, because again I gotta run at 2:30. What do you guys want to backtest? Should we just do we'll start with Monday or something? We don't have much time, but what do you guys want?
Yeah, sound
Yeah, we could even just do 15-minute since we did a bunch of 1 minute there, right?
Yeah.
You know what? Let's just pick. This is what I'm gonna do. We're gonna play Russian roulette here. We're gonna pick a random point here where we don't remember the price action. Whatever, July 13th, okay?
It can't be at August.
No, not August. We'll do August again in the future.
No, not August.
Because here's the thing, I backtested that with Dan this week, and we found a way to make it work. It just is a good I almost want to say it's like a good way to test like the robustness of your trading plan, like trading weird like price action, unideal market conditions like that, right? Because if you're able to do that and like your plan works within it, and works within like an ideal market where like we're trending a lot like we are now, and you're able to hit your shorts and stuff, like you have a good trade plan, right? It's the same as like, I don't know if you guys know anything about like algorithms, right? Or like an algo trader, right? It's the same thing. If you were going to develop an algo, whether it's like, using machine learning, whatever, right? Something that I've experimented with in the past. I'm testing one right now. It's just something I might like throw a little bit of money into, but I'm going to test it now for like quite a while, right? Before I'm testing it in demo. So we'll see what happens. But here's the thing, right? It's the same thing. An algo is much like a trading plan, right? In that you want to test its ability to perform and, not like blow an account in poor market conditions, right? There's a reason I would never use a martingale bot. I've tried it before. I know Dan has before. It's because they always end up blowing up, right? Mine's a little bit different. I won't go again like too deep into it. again, I probably won't even talk about it in the future either, because I'm going to test it probably for 6 months to a year on demo to see what happens. But if you can, if you're able to like perform well, much like an algo would, right, with whatever like market conditions you throw at it. In my case, what did I throw at it? I did a bunch of testing. I put it through like at like the absolute worst conditions, right? I did like walk forward testing, this thing called like Monte Carlo testing, where you're essentially saying, okay, price slips through this, maybe my stop loss doesn't get entered in, whatever. If it can pass all those tests, then like great, right? So it's the same thing. If your trade plan works within, you know, August, like it's great. So why don't you guys go test that and see how well you do? Because I know when we did it, you know, we were kind of like doing it all together. It was what did we end up doing? 17%, right? And our net R was 1.33. For those of you that ended up staying like past, right? Because I wanted to try and recover it. So even that to me is like a pretty good month, because like we didn't lose anything, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of results, but even more than that, right? What's more important? Even if I have a negative month, did I follow my plan? If I did, great, right? Then I won on that level, right? So it's just something to think about, I think, for you guys a little bit, right? Okay, so let's quickly look at this. So daily, I would say is bearish, right? You guys agree with that? 4 hour. I'm not gonna go lower than 4 hour 15 minute on this one, right? But I just want to break it down, and we'll just kind of do this a little bit like quickly so that we can cover something here. 4 hour is bearish, right? I'll quickly mark out where's our swing structure on the 4 hour, right? Our low, our high here, right? I'm not gonna count this as a pullback. Price closes below here, and then I'd probably say this is my high, right? Or you could say this was our high, right? So price is basically like this, right? And then this is our high back up here, right? So again, price comes, taps into this, like that's still valid, whatever. Yeah, price pushes down. This would be my next swing point, and then kind of just like that. Does that make sense? 4 hour? You guys got that, right? So we got our 4 hour here. It looks like we're chaining off of like this range, to be honest, right? So I'll just mark these few because I don't think it taps into this. I think I remember this price action. I don't know, it's kind of fuzzy to me. Did we tap into this yet? No, we didn't. It's not really relevant POI to me anyways. If anything, this one is, right? I'd be interested in that because this would all be like liquidity for it, right? Would this be counter trend based on the swing structure that I've marked out? Yeah, absolutely it would be, right? But if I get a 4 hour chalk in here, right? Because I know this is probably a daily zone, right? It's our daily wick here. I'd play shorts off that, right? So let's go back to 4 hour. So yeah, we broke here. Okay, that's good. We can maybe expect this to hold, but I wouldn't be so sure about it either because it looks like it might be trend on liquidity, right? We could even just sweep into like something in here and not come tap into this. So let's see. We've taken out, again, external range liquidity. We have like our levels of demand failing here, right? You guys can see that. And then what else am I looking at as something that price might tap into as a catalyst for like almost our pullback, right? Where we can maybe look for like intraday longs. That, right? Let's go to the 15 minute. 15 minutes obviously very bearish, right? If we're talking about swing points, I'd say this is my high, this is my low, this is my high, this is my low. So would I still play this? Yeah, this is like that situation we talked about earlier where, okay, it'd technically be like out of my swing structure, but I would be happy to like play it, right? Because that's a nice level, right? It's also a flip based on this, right? If I mark out, sorry, optimize this a little bit. If I mark out this, right, we see price reacted, it's swept, pushed down. This is a nice zone to potentially play off, right? So let's see. You tell me how you guys want to approach it for the next 10 minutes. I'll let you guys pick levels to try and play off, right? We could even play like, you know, longs here if you really wanted to, but try to justify it to me why we would enter it, right? So we practice. What do you guys think?
Yeah, we have a
Is there any place you want to enter here? Yeah, okay, Miguel wants to enter here.
No, not there.
Because we did chalk, to be fair,
yeah.
Right?
I would expect here, this level.
Yeah. So here's the thing though, did we tap into anything on the left? Yeah, it's a good question, Rama. I want to know too. Might be a little bit hard to see, but no, we tapped into nothing. Imbalance, right? But we did sweep external range liquidity here, at least from like this range that we're kind of. I mean, it's more of a trend more than a range, right? It's a very corrective trend, but yeah, we can expect probably a pullback into one of these levels, right? So I don't disagree. I think like longs could work here, absolutely. Where's our failure? This, right? Again, I'm not gonna use the right tool for it because it just takes me too long to do it. So I'm just imagine this is your supply, and then obviously it fails here, right, at this level. So let's see if price taps into any of those. Okay, so it sweeps this one first, right? So here's the thing. Let's actually measure this. If we had left a limit on this, would we have had a stop big enough to be able to absorb that? I think so, right? Whenever I enter on the 15-minute, usually I want like a 3 to 5 pip stop loss at minimum, right? If it's 9 or whatever, like that's fine too. It depends on the size of the order block that we're playing off of, right? So if anything, I would say like I would even maybe want to cover this low because again, we don't know if price is going to come tap into this. It does end up tapping into it, right? And I think even this is a good level to, yeah. Look.
That's what I'd normally mark, but this is why I normally miss out.
Yeah.
Because normally I'd hit this and go, do you know what I mean? So I end up missing and then chasing it and then it comes back and takes me out. You know what I mean?
Well, let's see, right? Like, okay, here's the thing, Shane. I'm going to tell you this, right? To maybe help a little bit. I wouldn't be opposed to playing
this obviously
right?
taps that, you see. So then obviously
Yeah.
I'd look down this line here. Which this time it played out, but
here's the thing, you don't have to be the first one in either, right? Yeah, sometimes it does go, you let it go, right?
Yeah.
But then if it comes back, right? Look, this got taken out, this level of supply. You have internal levels of supply getting taken out, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be opposed to like playing this if I didn't catch the first one, right? So let's see if it comes and taps into that. Okay, it does. We both get swept out, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
Right. From an intraday perspective, though, right? I think we know, right? There was probably something here that we could have played, right? What does it tap into? It taps into something pretty random here in this one, which is interesting. I guess you could argue this, right? Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, for you to play when you play a chalk, right, you want to make sure it taps into something first, right?
Yeah, typically, yeah.
We need to justify the price
like,
action.
you mean a chain? Like, I usually want to try and play a chain, like almost like this, right? Now, here's the thing. The risk is, like, it ends up becoming liquidity, like it did, right? So, this one's weird. Like, it kind of swept here, almost left, like, relative equal lows. Price pushed up. This inside bar mitigated this, right? And again, I'm saying this in hindsight. Like, I'm surprised it didn't come and, like, tap the 50% of it, but it doesn't have to either, right? This is not a level that I would have left the limit on. If anything, okay, you get swept. Let's see if we can try and enter a continuation on this, right? So we have this level. Why am I
enter continuation. This is where I struggle, man.
Yeah. So let's see, right? We have two levels we can play now. So I'll just move this to the right a bit. Or to the left, I mean. You have this big level here and this one, right? So let's just observe. Let's see what happens. Okay, there is no continuation, that's fine. So you leave it, right? There's no reason to force it. Now we pay attention to swing structure again. Are we in our swing structure high? Yeah, right? Do you have to throw a limit directly on this, right? For New York? No. You could play the reaction, right? And this is usually what we're doing on the lower time frame anyways, right? We're waiting for price to whatever, chalk, and then we would enter it, right? So let's see if this one holds. It looks like it's gonna be used as inducement for this higher one, right? So let's see. Price is kind of pushing up. It ends up just sweeping. So I think what happened here is we tapped into this range rather than our actual like zone here, right? Our buy to sell candle. So let's see. Not to say that it can't come and test it out. I think for this I'm gonna wait for a chalk, right? And where would my chalk be? This at minimum, right? So here's the thing. Where do you guys want to play? You want to enter market here, or you want to try and play this extreme?
Oh, try to play extreme.
Knowing that we broke bullish, right? By the way, so be aware of that, right? We're bullish on the 15.
Yeah.
So could we have played this? Maybe, right? Do you guys see this chain that developed? Right?
Yeah.
See,
This is why
this is where
it helps to do this
this
in
is where I
hindsight.
normally enter.
Where? Here?
This is my
The short?
problem. That,
Oh,
and
here,
then
here,
I'd
yeah.
come down this way.
Yeah,
I mean, it
but
worked
sometimes
out
they
there,
expire,
reaction,
right?
failed reaction, blew through, and then this is where I'd normally enter here.
Okay, so I'll throw this on for you, Shane. Hey, we're gonna do this in full.
No, I
hindsight.
mean it's moved, but I
No,
don't
it's
know.
fine,
This
it's
is
fine.
where I mean
I think
that
this is
worked. That
valid.
worked out like, but no, normally I just get battered and then it goes.
No, fair enough. Yeah. So let's see. We'll throw a limit on there because it looks like it could work. You're pro trend on this.
But-
It's a little
well,
high in the
that's-
leg, to be fair,
that-
but like, I mean, it's valid. Right?
That's my problem. I enter too early. You see. Do you know what I mean? I'm
that's
straight
fair,
in.
But this is good. Even if you enter late on this, I'd say this is valid. Why? Because we had supply here. We created a reaction. We swept it. Right. So
Yeah.
let's see what happens now if we react to this. I have a feeling that this one is not going to hold, but let's see. Right? Yeah, it doesn't. Right? And you'd probably be break even on this now. Okay, and so that's
Yeah.
how you play it, right? Whatever. Essentially, you get taken out of one, break even on the other, whatever, right? Okay, price ended up reacting to this high. I think it came for the wick, right? So you see how we learn a lot from like doing hindsight?
Yeah.
If you're back testing without doing hindsight and like you're not able to like call them out, just do hindsight testing, right? Because you'll learn more from that than trying to like, you know, getting frustrated and marking out like stuff and then taking losses on it, right? So that's why I like to dissociate from even like putting orders on a lot of the time, and I just want to see like what kind of works and like why. I want to reverse engineer it, right? Okay, Miguel's saying we should take this. I agree, Miguel, because we took this out, right? And we had this level of demand, multiple levels of demand fail, right? Let's see if price comes taps into that. I think what's gonna happen is I might sweep this, but let's see. Or it's gonna come tap into that. Okay, now we're in spread hours, so we gotta be careful. Here's Asia. And let's just be mindful of the other side too, right? Remember we marked this out? We tapped into that. We kind of have demand chaining now too, right? So even like, I mean, it's kind of about to chain on both sides if we were to try and short here, but I'm not necessarily saying that either, right? What week looks low, the week's, or sorry, the week, the low looks kind of weak, but I don't know, let's see. It's kind of just ranging now, right?
Yeah, we could play
I
this
think,
or not.
yeah, this is just really rangy price action. Yeah. I mean, it's weird.
Wouldn't we consider also this flip for an entry?
This one here, this wick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could, yeah. It's one of those ones, right, where it's like very subtle. I
Yeah.
probably want to look on the 1 minute to see like, are we sweeping an initial reaction on it? But even then, like, these work too. I would not look to play this directly, but I would be happy to play a chain off of it, right? So let's see. It's just ranging still, ranging. So now we're developing a nice chain here, which is cool, right? Now here's the thing. Had we entered short off of this, guaranteed probably be break even on it, right? Because this low got taken out, we closed below. So whatever, you would take a break even on it, right? It's not ideal price action. And then you have this, right? Chaining. That's in Asia. So it looks like we're generating a lot of liquidity to the downside. Let's pay attention to our 15-minute swing structure again though, right? Technically we'd be bearish. Let me just clear all the drawings here for a sec. Right, so we took that low out, right? That would define this high, right? Then this low, then this high. So we're technically stuck within this range right now, right? So it would make sense to just continue to play the edges of it essentially, right? But here's the thing, it looks like supply is holding overall and we would be pro trend 4 hour 15 based on that, right? So we are also kind of trading in the middle of like this 4 hour range overall, so we just gotta be careful, right? Because we have this level up here, this level here, right? This could be used as just like trendline liquidity too, so just something to be aware of. The price is really just kind of squeezing, right? Okay, there you go, and then it falls off. So let's see, out of all of these, I think I would be hard pressed to try and short this, just because like you kind of have supply holding, or sorry, demand holding here. But in hindsight, I think out of all of these, this is probably the most valid one here, right? Why? Because this actually took out multiple levels of demand, right? Then price comes, retests this, right? We have like liquidity here that's generated kind of by, I mean, price reacting to itself, right? Prior to that, we have all of this internal range liquidity. So this is post POI and this one's pre-POI, right? So yeah, that's a pretty nice short. I was kind of expecting that it was going to come and like retest this, right? But you also had an opportunity, I guess, if you wanted to try and chase it a little bit to enter this. It's just, I would have wanted to see price kind of break these lows more. Didn't really do that, right? But if anything, this one would have been nice. You wouldn't have gone break even yet, so I think you would have been good, right? Price kind of pushed down. It never comes and retests the high, so that's good. You have a lot of liquidity to the downside. It's good, right? And then this is obviously some sort of news, right? So you'd probably be TPing before this. Yeah, this is right at 8:30, right? So there you go. There's one like swing trade there. It's not even a swing trade. This is like an intraday trade that you could have taken, right? So that's how I would do it in hindsight, right? Does that make sense? So despite the fact that we took what? One loss here. I think we took another loss up here and then a break even. Whatever, you're netting like basically what, 6R on that, just on swinging, right? Within a week. So it's, I mean, it's not bad for the 15-minute, right? If we were trading the 1 minute, I'm sure you could extract more out of this, but this is a pretty rangy, like, you know, Thursday, Friday. Again, I'm sure there's like a lot of 1 minute trades in here, right? But that's how I would approach, you know, again, hindsight testing the 15-minute, right? It's good practice to do this regardless, right? When you eventually like your experience level goes up with it, right? It just takes time. You can start doing more like bar replay and do it like in a bit more of like a hardcore manner, where you're like, you know, kind of waiting and throwing limits on and seeing how it plays out, right? But nice thing about back testing, you take your losses to the chin. Don't let it affect, you know, your ability to enter other stuff, right?
I have a question here. This area, let me just mark it up.
Sure. And then I gotta run after this one. So sorry.
Can we consider this as a sweep of liquidity from this area?
Yep. Absolutely, it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's sweeping external range liquidity, right? Just like it did past here, right? So we were kind of expecting, you know, this is why I would TP. If I were in this short, I would TP as soon as like we hit these lows, pretty much, right? Like aside from the fact that like this was clearly a news event, it's just like what has price been doing, right? Been ranging, basically trending in a corrective fashion in a downtrend, right? So if we take out this external range liquidity, then yeah, I'm expecting prices probably going to pull back to one of these levels. Let's quickly see what it does. I think it did tap into, no, it didn't tap into that. It just swept that liquidity I was kind of talking about before, right? For now anyways. Let's play it forward and just see. And then does it tap into this? Yeah. Almost, right? Whether that, you know, produces anything more than an intraday reaction like it did here is questionable, right? And look, now we're starting to have price really fall off a little bit, right? See, we keep taking the lows out. Every time we take a major swing low out, we pull back. We take a swing low out, we pull back, right? And this chalks, this probably would have been a good long, right? We tapped into this 4 hour over here that I had marked out, right? So there you go, there's another nice one, right? So again, good practice to just like observe it. Even if you're not marking it out with order templates, just reverse engineer, like why is it happening in the first place, right? The more you do that, the better you'll be at recognizing it in a live market and then actually like acting upon it, right? That's kind of like, I think, the best way of doing everything, right? Or approaching this. So anyways, I gotta run, guys. Thanks to everybody who came. I will upload the recording to this call this weekend so that you guys have something to watch. Sound good?
Perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you.
hey, listen, cheers, Rob. Great,
Thank
mate.
you, Rob.
Thanks, Bob.
No
Don't
problem,
forget
guys.
to share the
Have a good weekend.
Have an awesome weekend, everyone. Take it easy. Bye.
Cheers, Rob.
Yes.
Cheers.